Hi, this video is an update to my old dungeon video. A lot has changed. I'll be going over master mode in this video because I didn't in the last. Start off in the entrance floor going tank. Use the dungeon orb to seismic wave dreadlords until you drop a dreadlord sword. Once you get a dreadlord sword, reforge your armor to wise, buy dart goggles from Ophelia, and keep running the entrance floor. You will need to be farming lost adventurers until you can make 3/4 dragon armor. I'd recommend using a frag bot or just going with one of your friends so they can help you out. If you don't have access to a frag bot or friends, then you could just get a full set of wise heavy armor. This will be enough to get a floor 3 completion so you can queue solo in dungeons. If you got into the garden before dungeons, I'd recommend hot potato booking your dragon armor. Another thing you could do is go for 3/4 young instead of your Frankenstein dragon armor. Both of these are optional. If you don't want to play mage, then get 3/4 unstable armor for Burrs, archer, healer, and tank. Don't go for holy armor. It's just not good. Also, if you are planning on going burrs for dungeons, then you might have to use Void Sword, unless you have an AOTD. If you have an AOTD, then you'll have no problem. As far as for your talisman power, you should have Sighted for Mage and Bloody for Burrs. To start off, floor 1, if you already have everything I've talked about, you're gonna run through this floor. The only things you need from this floor are Bonzo Mask, Necromancer's Brooches, and optionally Bonzo Staff for getting crystals in floor 7. Floor 2 will be a small step up in difficulty. The only thing you'll need from this floor is the Adaptive Belt as well as Scarf Studies. The earlier you get Scarf Studies, the more Kata XP you'll get in the long run. I'd recommend doing runs on this floor until you're at least Kata 9 or 10, and then you can move on to F3. Floor 3 will probably be difficult for you starting out. Just try to find a few people in Party Finder that can do consistent runs, and you'll get the Kata XP you'll need to move on to the next floor. You should be doing floor 3 until you're at least Kata 13. There aren't really any noteworthy drops from this floor, so you're just running it for the Kata XP. Floor 4 is the first really annoying floor. Party Finder sucks, and the boss fight is hard with a random team. If you want to be consistent when running this floor with low Kata, you can get a jungle spear and try to stun Thorn. This helps the team not miss when shooting the spirit bow and is basically always useful. All you need to do this is to get a tribal spear as well as decoys. For the decoys, I'd recommend just getting a dungeon sack. As far as drops go from this floor, there are a lot of useful ones. This is where dungeons starts getting expensive. You'll want a good farming or mining set to be able to buy all the drops you need. The drops you need are 3 spirit wings for spirit scepter, 1 spirit bone for bone necklace, spirit short bow if you're planning on going archer and you don't have a juju yet, spirit sword if you want to go burrs, and you can craft spirit sword into a bone reaver if you have enough bones, and finally the spirit pet. And if you're planning on going burrs, skip the short bow, but I would still recommend getting the spirit scepter for outside of dungeons. Finally, if you're planning on going archer, then you could skip the spirit sword, and I think that's everything for floor 4. Moving on to floor 5, you should be at least Kata 16 with dungeonized dragon armor. Floor 5 Party Finder shouldn't be as bad as floor 4 because the boss fight in floor 5 is easier. This is the floor you get an armor upgrade if you're planning on going burrs, archer, or healer with the shadow assassin armor. Stick with dragon armor if you're staying mage. You'll probably start dropping recoms at this point, and you should recom your Fermento and Devon first. After that, you should recom the equipment, and then start working on your talismans. The useful drops from floor 5 are shadow assassin armor, shadow assassin cloak, legion and overload and lethality, and shadow fury. Don't bother going for livid dagger, you get it from collection at 150 runs anyway. This is a great floor to grind Kata XP on, and runs go by relatively quick depending on your party. Now, at this point, I'm going to talk about an item outside of dungeons that is very overpowered inside of dungeons. The Juju short bow. This bow can take you all the way to master mode, and you don't even need to do dungeons to get it. You can get this bow without ever touching dungeons because it comes from Enderman Slayer. If you wanted to completely fly through dungeons, then you can get this bow before ever doing them and start dungeons with the Juju. I'm mentioning it now because of overload books. These books are very important for a Juju's damage, and don't forget to dungeonize it. The items you should have at this point, going into floor 6, go as follows depending on your class. For mage, shadow goggles with dragon armor, spirit scepter, sighted reforge, as well as a sheep pet. For burrs, arch, and healer, 3/4 shadow assassin with an unstable dragon chestplate. For archer and healer, juju, and for burrs, either AOTD, livid dagger, shadow fury, or bone reaver. Skeleton pet for archer, and tiger for healer and burrs. Finally, either the bloody power or shaded power. For tank, which is not really recommended until floor 7, I'd go with mender's fedora as well as shadow assassin armor with a turtle pet. You'll also need healing items like wand of restoration and a zombie sword. Finally, we are moving on to floor 6. You should start this floor once you're about Kata 20. You'll need to do a lot of these runs just for the Kata XP. The drops from the floor go as follows: Soul Weaver gloves, giant sword, summoning ring, precursor eye, and necrolord armor if you're planning on going mage or tank. If you're going archer and healer, stick with your juju all the way to floor 7. The only upgrade you get on this floor as burrs is a giant sword, but it's too rare to really be worth grinding. If you get lucky, then obviously use it, but it's definitely not required. I would personally buy the drops you do get besides the helmet. However, if you want to start floor 7 and you haven't dropped them, then it's not a big deal. Don't bother with the chestplate or helmet. Buy the boots and leggings if you drop them and reforge them to necrotic. As far as tank goes, I would recommend using Reaper Mask from Zombie Slayer and dropping Necrolord boots and leggings, same as Mage. Reforge these to Giant. Healers in the F6 boss fight are basically always useful. A lot of low kata parties have trouble tanking the Terracotta phase. Soul Weaver gloves will finish your dungeon set of equipment. I would highly recommend recalming and starring all of it. Here we are, the worst floor of them all. Floor 7. The earliest you should realistically ever start F7 is kata 25, but I'd recommend waiting until you're at least kata 26. The small buffs go a long way. Clearing, when starting off on this floor, is very difficult. Mobs are not only way stronger, but they do much more damage. Once your team is done clearing, you'll start by fighting Maxer. The tank of the team needs to drag Maxer under the laser while the rest of the team gets crystals. What I'm about to say is very important. Please, for the love of tanks, do not enrage Maxer. Enraging Maxer means over-damaging him, making him do way more damage than he normally should. A low kata tank will basically always die to an enraged Maxer unless they have a Bonzo Mask or lots of healing items, or both. Just do enough damage to get it under 3/4 HP. The next go round of crystals, you'll be able to kill him. I played tank in floor 7 over 600 times at this point, and I cannot stress enough how important it is that you don't do too much damage to Maxor. Next is Storm. All you have to do is hide under the pillar when the lightning strikes, and let the mage use their left click beam to lead Storm under the pillar while someone is on the pad crushing. Do this twice and he'll be dead. Now we have Goldar, the terms phase. If you want to make sure that your party doesn't throw, then stay behind a bit and make sure nobody skips the terms at the start. You have to do 4 cycles of this before you finally enter the Necron phase. This is the easiest one. Just damage him until he's dead and don't get too close. And just like that, you did floor 7. There are a lot of drops you want from this floor. The Wither armor is the best dungeon armor in the game. Necron for damage, Maxer for speed, Storm for intelligence, and Goldar for EHP. If you're going Burrs, Archer, or Healer, I would recommend Necron chestplate and leggings with Maxer boots. Use Terra Helm until you've gotten Golden Necron head. For Mage, use Storm armor with Shadow goggles, and once you're kata 28, you could upgrade them to Wither goggles. And finally for tank, use 3/4 Goldar with Reaper Mask or Mender Crown until you could finally tank the floor in Necron armor. Other drops from this floor are the Wither Cloak Sword, which is basically required in Master Mode, and is very helpful in a lot of different places in the game. The Withered Reforge for weapons and the Ancient Reforge for armor are basically the 2 best reforges in the game. There are also Wither Catalysts, which make the Catacombs Expert Ring and a very nice sword, as well as Soul Eater books, which should immediately be put on your Juju. Buy every book you see until you have Soul Eater 5 on it. There's also the Auto Recom, which is just a legendary talisman, and there's one more set of drops from floor 7 that I haven't talked about. The Witherblade, as well as all of the scrolls. These are very rare. Because of how long F7s take, if you have the extra bits, I would recommend re-rolling every chest you can. It's going to speed up getting all the drops. You'll need a Necron's Handle, as well as 24 Wither Catalysts to make the blade, and to get Wither Impact, you'll need all 3 of the scrolls, Wither Shield, Implosion, and Shadow Warp. I wouldn't really recommend buying duped scrolls because of how expensive they are now. Buying a second handle is not a bad idea because you could use one for a Valkyrie, which is a very good melee weapon. You could also use one for an Astrea, which is very good in Master Mode. If you're planning on going Mage, make your main Witherblade a Hyperion, and if you're going to use it as healing, make it into a Scylla. I think that basically covers F7. Beyond floor 7, we have Master Mode. I would highly recommend getting a term before progressing in Master Mode because Juju is just not going to cut it. M1 and M2 don't have any drops that matter, so realistically the first Master Mode floor is M3. You'll want to do a lot of M3s for the Kata XP. You also need to drop lots of Master Stars from this floor. You want 1 on your Necron chestplate, leggings, and boots, 1 on your term, optionally stars on your equipment and hype. You'll also be able to drop Master Skulls and start working on your Master Skull talisman. M4 is a very difficult floor. You'll have to deal with Shadow Assassins when clearing this floor. The best way to deal with Shadow Assassins is use your Wither Cloak right before they teleport to you, and Ice Spray them and DPS. Ice Spray is one of the most useful utility items in dungeons. You basically use it in every clear and every boss fight of Master Mode. As far as the boss fight of M4 goes, having an LCM helps a lot when it comes to killing the Spirit Bears. If you don't have an LCM, then just Ice Spray the Spirit Bears and have the Archer DPS them. You'll also want someone stunning Thorn so you don't ever miss the Spirit Bow shots. You get second Master Stars from this floor as well as Master Skull tier 3s. Luckily at this point, Master Stars aren't too rare, and you won't have to do an insane amount of runs to get all the stars you need. You should star your Necron as well as your term, then optionally equipment and height. Next, we have M5. This floor is honestly easier than M4. You have to grind this floor for a long time to get the kata levels and the 3rd stars that you need. Once again, in the boss fight, an LCM helps a lot. If not, then just try to DPS with an archer. The only ones who should be messing with the boss are the mage and the tank if you have an LCM, and archer and tank if you don't. When other people try killing the boss, it just makes it take longer. I would not recommend putting 3rd stars on your equipment or hype. Just do the 2 because they're far more common. You also drop Master Skull tier 4s from this floor. I would recommend starting M6 at kata 40 or 41. You'll be able to clear fine and not struggle in the boss fight, but you'll have a hard time finding good parties. Stars on this floor are twice as rare as M5. The tank and healer basically just AFK in the boss fight, and the mage, Burz, and archer all take turns gyroing the terras. It's a very simple boss fight. Once again, an LCM helps a lot when taking out the giants after the terracotta phase. You'll need 4 master stars from this floor, as well as at least kata 45 to start M7. 1 star on the term, 3 stars on the 3 pieces of your Necron. And next we have M7. I'm not going to be talking about this floor yet because I haven't played this floor yet. I will be releasing an M7 guide once I feel I've gotten all the knowledge I can on this floor. However, right now is not that time. Anyways, that's all. Thank you so much.